conversation to just dump aim assist?
There's always conversations like that, you know, and I don't know if you, like, one of the things we've done is quickscoping is not in the game, and that's a conscious choice. It's something that we've removed, and I think that will make a lot of people happy. I know that that's something that always gets brought up as a questionable thing. It always comes back to aim assist.
Hey guys, I'm Shorty SX, and according to the interview you just saw, quickscoping is supposedly gone from Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, I happened to see this just before finishing the video you're about to watch, which happens to deal with the issue of quickscoping and whether it should exist or not. Now, I won't jump to any conclusions yet about the interview or Ghosts, because there was very little detail, or in fact zero detail, about what this actually means, plus I'd wait for some more official confirmation. This video was originally going to be about the Black Ops 2 sniper patch, but because the issue is so complicated and so controversial, I decided to make this a very detailed and structured video to take you on a little journey through time with me. Today I'll be showing you how I used the sniper rifle the very first time I played any Call of Duty, how my sniping developed over time, how I performed with regular guns, and even some Quake footage to show you where it all began. As much as the video should be interesting for any sniper, it's also just as much for anyone who's not a fan of quickscoping or sniping, or even thinks quickscopers or snipers are idiots and so on. In any case, I go into a lot of detail, and if you're one of my loyal subscribers or simply someone who wants to approach this whole thing rationally, then I hope you watch the entire video to properly understand my point. Right off the bat, let me say this is not going to be a 6-year-old crying, "I bet my snipers are gone." Yes, many players who quickscope or use snipers tend to be self-obsessed little trolls who do nothing else but talk smack to everyone, call people noobs, hardscopers, cheaters, and so on. But they're no different than the central word there, trolls. What's in a troll? A troll by any other gun is still a dick. What I mean by that is what gun they're using or how they're bragging should make little difference, as they're only trying to get a reaction from you. Similar goes for any of the people who had some of the more extreme reactions to the sniper patch, and I'm talking about the threats to Van der Haar. I mean, if you're taking a piece of imperfect software that you only paid $60 for this seriously, then you probably need a refreshment course in some core human values. But all I'm saying is that there is nothing inherent about snipers or quickscopers that makes them blabbering dicks, and there are many players who simply enjoy snipers or think they're cool or are looking for a challenge. In this video, I'll simply try to show you the game from my perspective in a rational way that's not meant to insult anyone. By the way, the gameplay you're watching is somewhat a little unique because I end up losing this game, and it's thus not something I normally upload to my channel. But it helps my point quite well. It's not a bad game, in fact I have many strong moments, but I want you to pay attention to how I play, how quickly I take down enemy kill streaks, and still how easy it is for me to lose the game. But let's start at the very beginning. So the first time I ever picked up a Call of Duty was on my friend's PS3. I didn't have one at the time, and the game was Modern Warfare 2. While I had a significant background in first-person shooters on PC, this was the first serious shooter I tried playing with a controller. Now that right there is an entirely different video, so I'm going to skip right past it. Now I remember the very first time I asked my friend to give me a sniper class, and I went into an actual online lobby. What you're seeing right now is just a recreation in an empty private match, but aside of that, I remember pretty much every detail of the game. The game was on Derail, and as a side note, keep in mind that a map like Derail was infinitely more sniper-friendly than anything we've seen in recent Call of Duties. But I went into the match, and I started looking around for a covert or hidden location from which I could snipe. And follow my reasoning. At the time, I was very new to the game, and every player's camouflage made it very difficult for me to see them. Hence, I thought that I was completely invisible and stealthy by being a sniper sitting in a bush. What happened was I spent somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes in that exact same bush, and I got exactly one kill somewhere around the middle. Now, the way this whole experience ended was when someone I never even saw shot me from somewhere with his assault rifle. Most likely from one of the windows in the building to the right, but anyway. The lesson I soon learned was that staying in even the most covert or hidden spot does not actually make you invisible or hard to find, and in a game like Call of Duty with mini-maps and everything you have, it's really not a winning strategy. But let's talk about how my sniping evolved. It started off with me having to aim down sights, or ADS for short, and then wait for my brain to actually process and comprehend what it was seeing, because the ADS image was obviously more zoomed in. Then I would try to find my target as quickly as possible, which of course took a little bit of time and my aim was pretty bad to begin with, and then try to kill it. But as time went on, I kept practicing and I tried to improve my shot more and more, and I got better at the process. I spent less time looking for my target after I aimed down sights, I adjusted my aim faster, and my overall aiming efficiency just increased. But eventually, I became capable of firing just one accurate shot at whatever I wanted without much need for the actual zoomed in image. Basically, what everyone today calls quickscoping or pop-shotting. But as a side note, even here I was always confused when people or even other snipers would look down on quickscoping, because if I were able to acquire my target, be ready to fire and kill it by the time my aim down sights animation is complete, what exactly am I supposed to do but fire? Should I keep my target on my enemy and be like, okay, can I shoot you now? What about now? Seeing how most people who use regular guns tend to spray bullets in my general direction as soon as they sort of hear me behind a corner, this makes very little sense. By the way, the process I just explained did not happen fast, and in fact it took me a long time and many deaths before I could finally hold my own with a sniper. My stats plummeted, but I didn't really care because the constant need for improvement and retweaking of your shot made the game very interesting and enjoyable for me, just because I was trying to strive to become better. But let's take an even bigger step back. This is Quake Live on PC. For anyone curious, this is the game engine that Call of Duty is based on. Yes, it's been heavily modified, but this is where it all started. Quake is a very fast-paced game where you speed around the map, you pick up weapons, health, armor, power-ups, and so on. By the way, the gameplay is only meant to show you what the game is generally like, and not to show off any skill, since it's been over 10 years since I properly played the game, and it's been many years since I properly trained my mouse aim. But in any event, in Quake you were able to rocket jump to get more height, strafe jump for more speed, power-ups included things like a personal teleporter or quad damage, and so on. By the way, I'm sure the thought of quad damage in Call of Duty just made a few of your heads explode, but moving right along. For example, the one-shot type weapon which most resembled the sniper in Quake was the railgun. The railgun could basically kill an enemy without armor in one shot, but there was a very big difference in one aspect. While no one liked getting killed by a railgun, people had some sort of respect for anyone who was actually good with it. Probably because despite its power, the tiny margin for error, the slow rate of fire, and pretty much everything else about the railgun made it the worst weapon if your aim wasn't that great. But anyone understood that, and hence the slight feeling of respect even as you get vaporized by your enemy's railgun. I mean, there was even an impressive medal, one of only 6 such medals, awarded for consecutive hits with the railgun. Even the official explanation on the official game lists the medal as impressive. Everyone knows the railgun requires the most skill. That's why this medal is awarded for making 2 consecutive hits with it. Now let me also explain this, because it can easily be misunderstood for today's arrogance. The general feeling was that if you're using something like the railgun, you weren't looking for selfish praise or respect or whatever, but if you did manage to get a nice shot or two, people were able to appreciate it, or at least not be upset by it, and realize that it wasn't all that easy. Now, this may be because in a game like Quake, everyone was able to try out pretty much every gun in a single match, and seeing the railgun sprees were not something everyone could pull off. Anyone playing with just the railgun was seen as someone really challenging themselves or making the game harder, and anyone who was really amazing with the railgun, it was pretty understood that that skill could not have come easily. But let's go back to Call of Duty. While I realize they're not exactly the same thing, I've always seen quickscoping, or rather pop-shotting, as very similar to railgun play. You fire only one bullet that either hits or doesn't, you're very vulnerable in between shots or should you miss, and it takes very precise and quick aim to be successful with, and so on. I mean, there are also differences. Where the railgun, for example, always shot straight, a CoD sniper needs to stop moving, aim down sights completely, and only then fire with accuracy. Another difference that you may be thinking of is that CoD on consoles has aim assist. Now, the actual effect of aim assist, especially when it comes to snipers, is vastly misunderstood, and more so if you have very little experience with the sniper yourself. Now, I can't cover all of this today, and there's an entire chapter on this in my complete How to Quickscope tutorial, which covers pretty much everything with 1 or 2 exceptions. Now, I will say 2 things about aim assist today. One, it does help to some extent, but it's not as useful as you think, and you can clearly quickscope without it, as you've seen me quickscope barrels or even the tiny little pots in my complete quickscope tutorial. And 2, well, everyone else also has aim assist. If regular guns had no aim assist, then I would be perfectly happy with none for snipers as well. Level playing field, that's all. Now let's go into the Black Ops Sniper patch. The way any rational person should interpret such a nerf is, snipers were too powerful, hence why they fixed them. Well, however, this makes very little sense to me because I mostly use snipers, and I still find them harder to use than most other weapons you see online. This not only applies to Black Ops 2, but even Modern Warfare 3, where snipers were much faster and had a lot more freedom. What I mean by that is that if I were to swap to a shotgun or a submachine gun assault rifle, and even some pistols, I end up performing much better than I would if I used a sniper, especially the way I normally do. So let's look at what my practice of sniping accuracy and placing one bullet exactly where I want it to be translates into regular guns. And let's turn aim assist off for obvious reasons. Now, I think the footage shows exactly why I'm always very confused when people online tell me to stop cheating or to use a real gun if I can, because I simply look at the message and in the least arrogant way possible I think to myself, you really don't want me to use a regular gun if dying is making you this mad. The only situation in which I see snipers as more powerful than other weapons perhaps is when you're already aiming down your scope somewhere from behind cover and shooting enemies at long enough ranges for their weapons to somehow not be killing you, which is what Treyarch probably wants out of snipers anyway. But even then, I feel I could be doing so much more with a semi-automatic sniper, or even an assault rifle, or even a light machine gun. So let's look at what Treyarch actually did. They reduced the fire rate of bolt-action sniper rifles and increased the time it takes to get in and out of sprint. Now looking at the sprinting delay, it seems to be trying to discourage snipers from moving. But as I just said, when they're not moving and already scoped in is the only time, if ever, that snipers are potentially powerful against other guns. Looking at the slower rate of fire, that could nerf any style of sniper play, but again it's questionable when you have the SVU or XPR that can deliver a lot more damage, but are simply not as popular. So the most likely reasoning to me for the sniper nerf is that they're simply trying to discourage snipers who move. Now, regardless of how I tried to explain this, and believe me, I tried, the only explanation for why they chose the two bolt-action sniper rifles and this exact nerf was the simple intention to make the quote-unquote quickscope community less powerful. Now, I'm not going too much into how Black Ops 2 has no map big enough to actually give snipers an advantage to begin with, thus making the role they're trying to impose even more ridiculous. What I will point out is that the vast majority of so-called quickscopes happen at close range. This is mostly because quickscopes at longer ranges require a lot more precision to pull off and can be quite tricky on the moving target, thus most snipers don't even attempt them or simply take their time, as Treyarch would want from a sniper anyway. So let's discuss those close range encounters. Now, I recently heard someone say that quickscoping has become so powerful that anyone would almost prefer a sniper to a shotgun at close range almost all of the time. Now, I'm not mentioning who this is because he's normally extremely accurate and I actually have a lot of respect for the guy, but he's simply wrong on this one. If you're picturing a 1v1 encounter at close range between a guy with a sniper and a guy with a shotgun, the guy with the sniper should stand no chance if everything's equal. Now, if I were the guy with the shotgun, I would simply aim and fire. With a shotgun, I don't need to aim down my sights, and even if I did, it would be instant. I don't need to stop moving, and my aim doesn't even have to be precisely on target. Shotguns also have hipfire aim assist, which Black Ops 2 snipers do not, and not to mention that someone with a shotgun moves so quickly that even hitting them with a quickscope becomes more of a challenge. The only way a sniper can actually win such an encounter is if he somehow gets the drop on me without my knowledge, in which case he'll probably win with any gun, or if my shotgun is out of range, which would no longer be a close range encounter. Now, I'm a good sniper, and I die from shotguns more often than not. If this weren't a video and all of you guys were standing in front of me, I'd actually ask for all the snipers who constantly get beaten by shotguns or other guns to put their hands up. And I'm pretty sure all of you will. Regardless of how quick you are as a sniper, if a shotgun can or is in range to hit you, it is much quicker. That is of course the natural role of a shotgun, and I'm not complaining in any way, but simply pointing out that if I'm carrying a shotgun and someone with a sniper kills me at close range, my instant reaction is quite similar to the one in Quake. While I'm not happy about my death, I at least appreciate that the sniper managed to kill me when he was the underdog, and chances are I'll kill him if it were to happen again. Very similar to Quake. By the way, the same applies to regular guns at close to medium ranges. Aiming down sights is still extremely fast, and even hipfire is effective at those ranges. Yes, sometimes the sniper will still manage to kill you, but the chances are not on his side. Even if you somehow are not convinced of this case, then I urge you to please try it yourself. Pick up a sniper, put yourself in the positions we just discussed, and you'll see that even after time and practice, you'll still have a much harder time with a sniper than most other guns. But let's go back to the patch. While the differences are noticeable, it's not the end of the world, nor should it be a reason for extreme reactions. But look at it from my perspective. I pose a ton of restrictions on myself because that's how I keep the game interesting. I mainly use only a sniper, with no secondaries, only a throwing knife, no explosives, portable radars, no lethal kill streaks, and on top of all, I actively force myself to work on my pop shotting accuracy and reaction speed, which basically means spending as little time scoped in as possible and not waiting around corners while already scoped in. Now, on top of all of these self-restrictions, aimed at helping me improve my sniping, snipers were already pretty slow in Black Ops 2 compared to Modern Warfare 3, mostly due to the running ADS delay that Drifter has thoroughly explained in this video. So when Treyarch released a patch to nerf the bolt-action snipers, which I already see is far from the most powerful, but to more specifically make them even harder to use in the situations where they were already very vulnerable, it simply made me wonder why. If you watched the highly publicized professional tournaments for Black Ops 2 this year, I'm sure you remember plenty of weapons, attachments, equipment that was simply too powerful or overused. What none of us really saw too much of was sniper play, and even some of the best players only used it in less serious situations and were normally quick to swap to their very powerful secondaries. Seeing as Treyarch organized all of this, I'm pretty sure they're not blind or under any type of illusions that snipers, or more specifically quickscoping, is overpowered, else they would have seen a lot more of it in their competitions, especially with such large cash prizes. In any event though, I feel that the worst part about the patch is the message it's sending. While light machine gun target finders and powerful kill streaks allowed 300 plus gameplays to pop up all over YouTube, I don't understand why very experienced snipers who have spent a tremendous amount of time practicing their aim receive any negative feedback over getting a few consecutive shots on target. If we think back to Quake, this is literally the opposite. Where Quake players who took the risky, more challenging weapon were awarded with nice titles for their accuracy, Black Ops 2 players have their weapons made even more of a challenge. And it's really not the good type of challenge either. Modern Warfare 3 snipers were faster and easier to use than Black Ops 2 ones, but so were the other guns in Modern Warfare 3. I often had a very hard time playing against good players who played with guns like the MP7 or the PP90 or the ACR, and every other sniper, regardless of how good they are or in what clan, will undoubtedly say the same unless they're somehow bragging for attention. The difference is that only my quickness and ability with the sniper is keeping me back in Modern Warfare 3, while Black Ops 2 puts very real limits on your potential. So let me start wrapping this up by saying that I can live with the changes, but I don't like the message it's sending. To the people who use snipers, it's saying that Treyarch is willing to nerf a weapon and a playstyle not for being too powerful, since they know it's not, but for their own reasons, which they never fully explain. To the people who do not use snipers, especially those who have not tried to be successful with a sniper against equally good opponents with other guns, Treyarch's patch is only helping the illusion that people who use snipers only do so because it's easy, which, as you should have realized by now, is probably the exact opposite of the actual situation. This creates even more unnecessary tension in the community that's already pretty strained. I wish gaming today was more like Quake games, or in many ways still are. People say GG after a game where they go something like 4-20. If you ever camped, no one complained about getting killed by a lightning gun, even if they had nothing more than the starting machine gun. And sniping, I'm not asking anyone to be happy about dying. I'm not asking you to congratulate a sniper for killing you, or even acknowledge it. Just understand that the sniper is someone who could be most likely doing much better with another gun, but for whatever reason is choosing to use a sniper and or to quickscope. If the person is deliberately only trying to quickscope or pop shot, then they're making the game even harder on themselves. And like I said, I'm not even asking you to respect snipers. And to be honest, even though I mostly just try to teach others how to use a sniper on my channel, because of my channel, I probably get a lot more attention than I deserve for simply playing a game in the way that's the most fun to me. But I do hope all of us one day would be able to actually die from a good enemy shot, regardless of what weapon or style he or she was using, and be able to appreciate the shot enough not to at least get mad about it. And, I don't know, one day perhaps show some sportsmanship. Say, nice shot, good job. Believe it or not, rage is not actually the natural emotion for getting a death in a game. But enough. As for what this means regarding Black Ops 2 in the future, getting upset and sending hateful messages to Vanderhaar is pointless, as I'm sure he and Treyarch know fully well how the sniper users feel, and the threats are simply ridiculous. As a friend of mine who actually likes both the Modern Warfare and Black Ops series about equally said, they're simply different games. For anyone wondering if the sniper patch is why I'm currently playing Modern Warfare 3, it's not. When I picked up Call of Duty recently after my slight YouTube break, Modern Warfare 3 was simply the one I felt like playing, and I didn't even learn about the Black Ops 2 sniper patch until later. While the patch is not really the end of the world, and I can still hit people with the ballista just fine, I don't really have much motivation to play the game. Now that's mostly because Modern Warfare 3's time is running out, and I really love that game, but we'll see what happens with Ghosts. Anyway, if you guys made it this far, then thank you for hearing me out, it means a lot, and let me know what your thoughts are about the patch, or about what you just heard about Ghosts, because I'm not sure if it's confirmed, but definitely raising some questions. And just your general thoughts on the issue, but keep it rational, if you can. Anyway, the video actually took a little bit of time to make, so if you guys are still here, maybe consider leaving a like. It would be nice. But I was planning on also discussing my awesome plans and the status of the Black Ops 2 tutorial, but I'll leave that as the main topic for my next video, where I'll also announce a nice little Q&A session and a lot of cool things. But hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.